Imagine a woman who walked into banks looking broke and walked out richer than most CEOs. She never ran a business, never touched stocks, never even finished college. But what she did made her a millionaire and left bankers scratching their heads for years. This is the story of how one woman quietly outsmarted the entire financial system and proved that you don't need money to make money. You just need to understand how money really works. Her name was Martha Pemberton, a 48-year-old single mother from Ohio. She worked at a grocery store, earning barely enough to feed her 2 kids. To most people, she was invisible, just another face behind the checkout counter. But Martha had a secret hobby. Every night, while her children slept, she sat with a cup of coffee, scrolling through financial forums and YouTube videos. She wasn't looking for get-rich-quick schemes. She was obsessed with how banks made money. And one post changed her life. It was from a former loan officer who explained how interest, debt, and timing could be flipped if you knew the right loopholes. Martha didn't fully understand it at first, but over the next 2 years, she built what she called her invisible investment machine, a system that quietly multiplied her money while banks thought she was broke. And the best part? It started with just $100. Let's rewind. In 2008, the financial crisis hit. Martha lost her small savings when her local bank collapsed. That's when she made a promise. Never again will I let banks decide my future. So she started studying credit systems, compound interest, government bonds, and bank lending rules. She realized something shocking. Banks don't make most of their money from deposits. They make it from debt. When you borrow, they create money out of thin air, then charge you interest on it. So, what if, Martha wondered, an ordinary person could play that game too? That question turned into an obsession. She experimented with small personal loans, not to spend, but to invest in assets that outpaced the loan's interest rate. Her first move? She borrowed $500 from a credit union at 6% interest and used it to buy a batch of discounted gift cards during a seasonal sale. She sold them online for a 20% profit within weeks. It worked. Then she scaled. Microloans, cashback rewards, rotating 0% credit card offers, high-interest savings hops. Each time, she'd borrow, flip, repay, and roll the capital. Over and over. She wasn't getting rich overnight, but something was growing. Her credit score, her cash flow, and her confidence. Until, one day, her bank flagged her account for unusual transactions. They thought she was running a scam. During an interview with the bank manager, Martha stayed calm. She explained her method, step by step. The manager laughed and said, "You can't build wealth like that." Martha smiled. "I already have." See, what she discovered was a time gap in the banking system. When you deposit money, it doesn't immediately leave the system. It's loaned out, multiplied, and recycled before your statement even updates. So, Martha began exploiting float periods, those invisible 24 to 48-hour windows between transactions. By cycling funds between accounts, using high-yield savings, micro-investments, and cashback stacking, she could make her money exist in 2 places at once, collecting interest or bonuses multiple times before settling. Crazy, right? But completely legal. Then she leveled up again. She learned about peer-to-peer lending platforms and used her growing credit access to fund short-term loans for small business owners online. She was now earning 12 to 15% interest while paying just 5% on her credit line. That spread? Pure profit. Within 3 years, she'd turned $100 into $320,000. No degree, no business, just a woman who understood timing, interest, and systems. But the banks didn't like it. In 2019, 2 major banks shut down her accounts without warning. They claimed risk management reasons. Translation, they didn't want someone proving how weak their system really was. Martha panicked. Her cash flow froze. Her P2P loans were mid-cycle and her credit lines were due. For a moment, she almost lost everything, but she didn't. She pivoted fast. She withdrew what she could and moved her operations into digital wallets and decentralized finance apps. Now, instead of relying on banks, she lent and earned through blockchain-based platforms. It was risky, but she had learned the golden rule of money. The game always changes. You either adapt or you lose. By 2021, her net worth quietly crossed $1.4 million. Still, no one knew. Not her family, not her coworkers. She still drove her old Toyota and lived in the same small house. She wasn't chasing luxury. She was chasing freedom. One day, a local journalist got curious after noticing unusual lending activity tied to her name. They tracked her down and asked for an interview. At first, she refused. But then she said something that went viral. "I didn't beat the banks. I just learned to play their game better than they taught us." Her story spread. And quietly, financial advisors began using her system as a case study in modern wealth psychology. But here's the twist. When she finally revealed her true portfolio, people were shocked. Half her assets weren't in cash or crypto. They were in people. She had been using her returns to help struggling single mothers start side hustles, turning her knowledge into a silent micro-empire of small successes. Her wealth wasn't measured in millions. It was measured in freedom multiplied. So what did Martha Pemberton really prove? That money isn't about how much you have, it's about how you use what moves. Banks move money. The rich move money. And now, an ordinary woman did too. She didn't just outsmart the banks. She rewrote the unwritten rule of finance. You don't need permission to play the game, just the courage to learn the rules. If this story made you rethink how money really works, remember, some of the smartest millionaires aren't on Forbes. They're quietly playing chess while everyone else plays checkers. And sometimes, the most dangerous person in finance is the one the system never saw coming.